This video is on the replacement of the H4 Pro series printhead as well as the UV2400 printer head. Right now I have the printer in test mode. From here we're going to push and hold on the auto height button. It says 3-second waiting. Just keep on holding on to it. Once the printhead moves, you're going to see the printhead raise up. It's going to move left to right, and then it's going to move so that we can move the printhead to the center position. It says power off. We're going to power it off and move it to the center position. From here, don't forget to lower the ink basket so that when we take the dampers off, the ink does not continue to drip from the dampers. I have a Phillips screwdriver, which is a small size here. I'm not sure what the size, but it's fairly small, maybe 2 or 3 mils. And some duct tape or masking tape. This is going to be for taping of the printer head itself. So let's go ahead, grab the paper towels, and we're going to take the dampers off here, and we're going to wrap the dampers in the paper towel. So I'm going to wrap these 4 here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap the other 4. And I do suggest wearing gloves as well as eye protection, even though I'm not doing it. But this is the metal bracket that houses the dampers in place. From here, there's 3 screws holding the actual printer head in place, and you can see from this printer, it's ink spilled everywhere. So this is a bad example of how the printer head should appear. If you see ink of this sort, that means ink is most likely spilled in the carriage, and you may have to replace that. So your printer head should never ever look like this. This looks really bad actually. So the first screw we're going to remove is in the top right corner. Let me just get in there and screw that here. And this screwdriver should be magnetized. If yours is not, just rub it against a piece of magnet and it will magnetize it. In the top left corner, same thing. Unscrew the screw. And then you have another screw, which is the bottom left corner. Now, what I'm then going to do is push from the underside of the printhead carriage. You can see that it actually will push up and raise the printhead right up. These are the 2 cables that are connected to the printhead, and you have a top and you have a bottom cable. And you also see that it is taped. So I'm going to first remove this tape. The tape is there so that if there's an accidental spill, then the solution or ink is not going to get into the connectors. So we'll disconnect the first top, see that, and disconnect the bottom. Now, what you want to look out for are any signs of damages to the printhead cables. So these metal pins must be clean, okay? No ink stains, no burns. So you want to inspect the top and inspect the bottom. Now, this is a good example of a damaged cable. You see that there's actually ink on this cable. So I'm going to wipe that ink off here. Any ink or any signs of damage or corrosion or burns indicates that there's a short. Do not proceed to install the printhead if that's the case. But because we are just showing how to install it, I'm going to walk you through installing the printer head on a damaged cable. Okay. So this is a replacement head. The first thing I'm going to connect is the top cable. You want to make sure that everything is straight. Even though the bottom appears over the top cable, it actually will tuck in to the top cable, just like that. So we're going to connect the top cable first. And you see here, I'm just lining up the pins, and then I'm pushing in. And the trick to it is I'm grabbing on this blue part, which is the hard part of the cable. Okay. Once that's connected, then you want to do exactly what I just showed you just now. Is make sure this is in the front, the bottom cable is in the front, and it tucks in just like that, and connect the bottom cable. And you want to make sure that everything is seated in place, just like this. Okay, and it's straight and flush. If it's not seated in place or not flush, you're going to have problems with a head hot error message or a general error message when you power the printer on. We're going to tuck the cable in place. Now don't forget, we also need to apply new tape to protect the cable. So I'm going to grab that packing tape. Just rip that off here. Protect the head cable just like that. If it's too much, you can just fold it just like this slightly, and that's fine. And we're going to seat the printhead back in place here. So what I first do is I actually seat the printer head and make sure it's flush. Okay? And you know what's flush is that there's a straight line that goes right across. You want to push down to ensure that it's flush. Inspect the head carriage to make sure that it's not corroded as well, because, and actually this is a good example of a bad carriage. If you see white ink, it will slowly eat away at the plastic component. So you want to make sure you clean that up, or else when you screw the screws in, they will not mount the printhead, and then it will offset the print position. So I'm just going to install this, but normally you should clean this all up, make sure that it's nice and clean before you install it. So set the printhead back in here. Okay, make sure it's laying flat. If it's not laying flat, raise it back up from the bottom and lay it flat again. You see here, it's still not laying flat, so we're going to try that one more time. There's something in the way. Oh, looks like this damaged cable came out. See, so, and that's why you never want to install a damaged cable. So let's try that again here. Plug this cable back in place. Okay. Let's seat this now. There we go. You check from the bottom, it's level from the bottom as well. You'll see that it's actually flush in line from this section and this section right here. From there, we're gonna screw the screws back in place. And like I mentioned before, make sure they're not stripped. If they are stripped, alternatively, you can use a larger screw. But that's a good warning sign that the carriage should be replaced fairly soon. And there's the last screw right here in the top right corner. And you don't want to He-Man the screws. You just want to make sure it's nice and snug. And you can tap the bottom of the printhead to see if the printhead shifts up or not. If it does, then of course the screws aren't mounted correctly. From here, take the ribbon cables and you want to tuck that right here inside that little opening in the bend of the printhead cable. See a little bend right there? So you want to actually tuck this inner cable, and then we're going to feed it through here. Feed it through. And of course, just tuck it in place just like that. Make sure this is aligned as well, seat it in place and nice and evenly snug. And then from there, don't forget, you're gonna walk through putting the mounting, the bracket, metal bracket back in place for the dampers. And of course, you may potentially need to reprime your dampers. And that's about it. After the reprime, move the printhead back off over the capping station, power the printer back on.